Hi, this is Mike from BandLab, and in this video, we're going to make an Italo disco beat in BandLab's free online DAW. You can open this project yourself with the link in the video description, and if you find this guide useful, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be the first to know when new videos drop. I begin by setting the project tempo to 126 beats per minute, and the project key to G major. Italo disco is a predominantly beat-driven type of music that's mostly created with electronic equipment. So the first element I'm going to work on is a drum machine track. I add a new virtual instrument track and set it to drums, drum pads, Prince kit. I add snares and claps on the second and fourth beat. I then add closed hats between the beats. This gives us a very straight sounding rhythm, so I'm going to funk up the rhythm of the kick to make things more interesting. I add a kick on the first beat of the bar, another on the 16th note before the third beat, and one on the last 16th of the bar. To duplicate notes or clips in BandLab, hold Option on Mac or Alt on Windows, then drag them over. I duplicate this bar out. On the second bar, I move the second beat a 16th to the left, and add another kick on the third beat. I also move the last kick a 16th to the left as well. This gives us a different rhythmic feeling to the first bar, so we've got a cool 2-bar groove going. I duplicate these 2 bars out for the rest of the 4-bar clip, and add an open hat on the first beat of the bar, which acts like a subtle crash cymbal. I turn this track down to -9 dB so I have headroom to add other elements. With the rhythm done, I have a solid foundation to begin composing the music. For this track, I want a synth bass hook, so I'm going to make that next. I add another instrument track and set it to basses, synth basses, acid bass. This bass sound has a lot of bite in the mids, which is exactly what I'm looking for. I set this track to -9 dB. I add G1 notes on 16ths, then hit the octave up. I then repeat this twice, with the final note hitting G1 again. This funky little hook is the core of our track, but it's not really a bass line, so I'm going to add another track for the real low-end bass. I add an instrument track, setting it to basses, electric basses, 62 P bass. I set this track to -9 dB. The bass line starts on G, then hits C, D, F, F sharp, and G before repeating. This ascending movement and rigid rhythm in the second half gives us that classic high-energy disco feel. I like this groove, but I feel like the synth bass hook's low end is interfering with the electric bass. I open the effects panel and add a tone EQ3M effect. I turn the low gain down to -6.6 dB. This reduces the low end of the synth bass hook, giving the electric bass more room to breathe. This groove is going to be the basis of the verse, and I'm going to add a synth lead to harmonize with the other elements and provide a rhythmic driving force in the mids. I add an instrument track and set it to keyboards, synth leads, eyelash synth. I turn this track down to -13.5 dB. I begin with a rhythm that plays on every 3 16th notes and then repeats after 2 beats. For the first half of the second bar, I take the notes down to F, which I feel creates a smoother harmony with the electric bass. I duplicate these notes out to fill the rest of the 4-bar clip. I'd like the sound to be a little glossier, so I decide to add some effects. In the effects panel, I add a modulation Little Rock. This gives the synth a natural feeling textural movement. I then add a delay filter echo, setting the mix to 31%, the delay to 247 milliseconds, and the feedback to 17%. This makes the part feel more interesting rhythmically. Now that I have a chorus, I need to create some other sections of the track. I duplicate this existing 4-bar section out to 16 bars, deleting the synth lead and the synth hook for the second half. This second 8-bar section is going to be the pre-chorus, which segues the track between the verse and the chorus. For this part, I want a simple disco bass line, so I edit the part to play octave skipping eighth notes on G and A sharp. To accompany this, I want some chords. I add a new instrument track and set it to keyboards, pianos, Wurlitzer. I set this track to -12 dB. I sequence a G major, followed by an A sharp major. Simple, but it creates the feeling of tension that will be relieved by the arrival of the chorus. To give the Wurlitzer a touch of textural movement, I add a modulation phase 45. I'd like a spacey sound effect to lead into the chorus too, so I open up BandLab's sounds and enter white noise sweep into the text search field. Bad or short white noise sweep up is the sort of thing I'm after, so I drag it into the project. I turn the track down to -4.5 dB. I position the effect so that it peaks at the end of the pre-chorus, and truncate the end using the handle at the bottom right-hand corner of the clip. To make the chorus, I copy over the verse and delete the lead. I add a virtual instrument track and set it to keyboards, synth keys, Harris wobble. I set this track to -11 dB. I program in a pretty simple melody that hits the G, the D, the F, and the C. This works okay, but I feel like the bass line and the lead need to be simplified rhythmically. I reprogram the electric bass to play a simpler bass line that just plays G and F. Now that I have my verse, pre-chorus, and chorus, I can arrange the track. I begin with just the drums and synth hook for 8 bars. On bar 9, the electric bass comes in. On bar 17, the lead synth comes in. We've entered the verse. After 8 bars of verse, we have 8 bars of pre-chorus. On bar 33, the chorus kicks in. The 8-bar chorus then repeats, with the synth lead for the verse added. Then the verse, pre-chorus, and chorus repeat. After this, there's a bridge, which features the bass line from the pre-chorus and the synth from the verse. After that, the chorus plays one last time. You can fork this project and make your own version of it using the link in the video description. Have fun!